friends, it's Christy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be making a fun card for you guys using My Favorite Things Rain or Shine stamp set from Birdie Brown. So earlier this month I created this card here using the Puddle Jumper stamp set, which is the companion set to the Rain or Shine. And I got a lot of really good feedback. You guys seem to really like it. So I thought I would recreate this card today doing a girl version, but I'm going to step up the shaker part. So we'll get to that later. But for now, I'm going to color with my Copic markers. So I've stamped my images on some Copic friendly cardstock with MFT's Black Licorice Hybrid ink. And I'm starting with my girl's skin. So I'm using E0000, E00, and E11 for that. I'm going to lay in my shadows with that E11, and then I'll blend out with the E00 and save the E000 for the highlight. To give her some rosy cheeks, I'm using RV10. I just thought that would be a little bit of a different, kind of a cooler toned blush for her. For her hair, I'm using E21, E23, E25, and E27. I'm starting with my lightest shade and kind of just laying in where I'm going to have my shadows. So I want to have it a little bit darker at the part, and then right where her hair is gathered into her braids, and then I also want a little bit of shadow on each of those braids. Then I'm going to come in with the E23 and darken that up a little bit, and I'm just going to continue building that color. So I'm not an expert on coloring hair. It's not something that I do very often, but I am trying to practice and get better with it. And for me, it's all just about building that color up and adding layers so that there's a lot of depth. You know, your hair naturally has a lot of highlights and lowlights, and so just trying to add in those different shades and get it to look a little more realistic. So the darkest areas are going to be the places that are the most kind of close to the head, or where it's gathered, like in the braid. And then the places that you leave for your highlight is going to make it look like it's kind of bumped out. So that's what I'm doing there with the hair that's on the side of her head. I'm kind of leaving a wide area for that highlight so it'll look nice and full over there. So I'm just adding my colors, building up, going from lightest to darkest, and then once I get to my darkest shade, I'm going to go back down all the way to my lightest. And I'm just going to bring that color in gradually until I have the whole area covered. Once I'm completely finished with that, I'm actually going to go back to my darkest shade one last time and add a few really fine flicks of color over that shiny area to kind of just pull it all together. So I'm being really careful to just use the very tip of my marker so that I get really nice thin strokes. And then I switched back to my lightest, my E21, and just went over that real quick to soften it up and kind of integrate it into the rest of the hair. For her raincoat, I'm using R83, R85, and R89. I'm starting with that R89 to lay in my shadows, so there would definitely be a shadow alongside her head there where the fabric is kind of bunched together and her hair is overlapping. And then I'm also going to do a shadow inside her hood because it would just be dark there. The sun wouldn't hit inside there. And then I'm also going to just accent the very edges of the hood to kind of give it a rounded appearance. And I'm going to bring in the color with the R85 and finish with the R83. I'm going to go back to my R85. I felt like it got a little bit lost there, and just blend that in towards the center and then blend with the R83 again. I am kind of working in smaller sections since the coat is kind of a large area. So breaking it into smaller sections is going to help with the blending because I'm going to not have as much time for that ink to saturate into the paper. I'm going to go over it real quickly with the next shade. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow around that pocket to give it some definition, and just continue blending out. The R85 and the R89 are pretty far apart, so sometimes I do have to go back and blend again with that R85 and just add a little bit more of that, especially into the shadowed areas, and then blend back out again with the R83. I just have to work at it a little bit to get it to blend nicely, but in the end these colors really come together. So my last little section is that piece that's on the far side of her body. So for that I'm just going to use the darkest two shades since it would be cast in more shadow. So I'm just laying in some heavier shadows with that R89 and blending with the R85. Before I put those markers away, I am also going to color in one of the sections of my umbrella, just starting with that R89 and then blending towards the middle with the R85, and then I'll use the R83 for the highlight on the far right edge. Next I'm going to give her some jeans, and for that I'm using B95, B97, and B99. Starting with the B99 and casting some shadow down the backs of her legs, and then also right up under her jacket where her leg is raised. And then I'm blending forward with the B97, and then I'll use that B95 for the highlight right on the front there, especially on the knee where the jeans are usually worn out a bit. Again, while I have those colors out, I'm also going to color in one of the sections of my umbrella. This time I'm doing the center section, and because I want the fabric to look folded in on itself, I'm actually putting the darkest in the center. I'm drawing a line down the center that I'm blending on either side of that with the B97, and then finishing with the B95. For her boots, I'm going to give her some wellies, and I'm using BG72, BG75, and BG78 for those. So I started with the BG78, and I did my shadow down the backs, and then also gave a little bit of shadow right in the front crease there, where the toe kind of meets the front part of the boot, the upper part of the boot. And then I'm blending out with the BG75, and then I'll use the BG72 for my highlight. So I'll just finish up the other boot, and then again I'm going to use those same shades to color in the last section of my umbrella. So I'm using the BG78 right along the folded edge there, and then blending towards the left with the BG75, and then using the BG72 on the far left for the highlight. For the handle and metal rod of the umbrella, I'm using C1 and C3, just adding a little bit of shading there on the handle, and then I just colored in that rod completely with the C3. For the puddle and the little splash marks, I'm using B00, B00, and B02. Starting with the B02, I'm laying in my shadows and then blending out with the B00, and then I will finish up with the B00 as my highlight. And this will have a nice contrast against our stormy sky background that we're going to be doing. For the ducklings, I'm using Y00, Y11, and Y13. I used the Y13 to lay in my shadows on all three of the ducks. I did it on either side of the ducks that are facing forward, and then down the left side of the duck that's facing to the right. And then I just blended that out with the Y11, and then I will finish up the highlight with the Y00. For their beaks and feet, I'm using YR16, and because they're so small, I didn't even use a second color to blend. And now that our coloring is finished, I'll just die cut these with the matching dies. So just like I did on the boy version of this card, I'm going to be creating a stormy background with some distress inks. So I'm using ice spruce, hickory smoke, and faded jeans. I'm going to smush all three of those colors down onto a Ziploc bag, and then I'll grab my distress sprayer. I'll give that a couple of spritzes, and then I can pick that up and see right through it so that I know exactly where I want to place that color. And I'm going to be concentrating the color in the top right corner and then kind of coming down towards the bottom left. Once I have my color down, I'm going to dry it with my heat gun, and then I'm going to continue to build up those layers just using those same exact steps and drying in between each layer. I decided I wanted to add one more color into the mix, so I'm using pine needles. I sometimes like to add like one unexpected color into these stormy backgrounds just to kind of give it a little bit of a punch. So I think that's going to blend really well with the faded jeans and the hickory smoke, and it's just going to add a little richness to my sky. So I said I was going to be doing a shaker with a twist, and the twist is that it's actually going to be a rain cloud filled with water. So I'm taking a little baggie that is wider than the cloud that I'm die cutting, and I filled that with just a little bit of water, and now I'm going to add some sparkling clear sequins into the mix and just a pinch of chunky glitter. Then I'll make sure to close it up nice and tight and set that aside for later. In the meantime, I'm going to stamp my sentiment for the outside of my card. I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink to stamp the sentiment that says, "Sending you showers of love." And then while I have my Misty out, I'm also going to stamp the inside of my card using the other little girl with the umbrella, another duckling, and the sentiment that says, "I love you, rain or shine." I've die cut my cloud out of my focal panel using the cloud windows and frames. I'm just using the window. And then I've lined my cloud shaker pouch with some score tape just on the front. So I'll just press that in from the back side. Then I'll grab my baggie full of water and shaker material and just make sure that all the water is down at the bottom. I'm going to line that up right where I want it over my sentiment, and then I'm going to fold the rest of the bag down the back. I've added some score tape all along the back side, so I'm going to peel those off and then press the rest of the bag down into place. Now, it probably would work even better if you had a shorter bag than the one I had, but this was all I had on hand. So I'm going to press it down all the way down the back, and then I'm going to add one additional piece of score tape, just pressing all the air out of there before I close it up one more time. And then I'll add that one more piece of score tape to fold that bottom flap up, because I can't have anything hanging down below this panel. So I've added foam tape all around that bag, and then just one little piece of score tape at the very top of the bag to hold the panel down to the front of it. Since it is a little bit bulky, I don't want to add foam tape up there. So I'm going to line my focal panel up right over top of where I want that to be, making sure that the bottom of the bag is right on the lower part of that cloud so that you can still see all of that shaker material. And once I'm happy with where that's at, I'm just going to press that all together. And I had one piece of foam tape sticking off, so I just pulled that off the side. And now you can see how that works in action. It's pretty cool how that all just floats around inside the water. I'll add a bead of glue to the bottom of my card so I can adhere a piece of gray chevron pattern paper from the Calm & Cozy Chevron 6x6 pad. And then I can take my focal panel and just line that up with the top edge of the card and carefully press that down into place nice and straight. To finish off the card, I'm going to add my little girl with some foam tape over on the right side. I'm going to adhere the puddle down with some liquid glue, and then all the rest of the images are also popped up on foam tape. So I'm going to adhere two of the little ducklings splashing around in the puddle, and I'll give them some splash marks on either side. And then the last remaining duckling is going to go over on the far left. And that is going to complete our card for today. I'm going to lift that up once again so you can see that water shaker in action. I think it works really great with these stamp sets in particular with the storm cloud. And I love it when it gets those bubbles in there. I just think it looks so cool, and you can definitely tell that it's really filled with water. There's another peek at the inside of our card. So thank you guys so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I love bringing you guys new content, and you know, you'll be the first to see it if you're subscribed. So go ahead and hit that notification bell if you want to make sure that my videos always end up in your feed. And here's 2 extra videos that you may also be interested in, so hopefully those will tide you over until the next one. Until then, I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.